All right, everybody, welcome to the 407th edition of the Holy Backboard Podcast. I am Dustin here in Rip City, and I got my man.
Sage here. Really excited about talking about this player. I think that he has the potential to be the third best player in this draft. It just depends on where he lands, and so let's talk about Derik Queen.
Yeah, and in today's episode, we are talking about Maryland big man Derik Queen. He is a 6'10" center with a plus wingspan, weighing in about 245, 250 pounds. Came over to the Terps from Montverde Academy, played on that loaded team with other guys like Asa Newell, Liam McNeely, and Cooper Flagg.
Mhm.
He is an older freshman at the moment. He is 20 and a half years old. He will turn 21 2 days after Christmas this year. He led Maryland to a Sweet 16 berth, had maybe one of the plays of the tournament, I would say, where he had the
Derik.
game winner off the bounce, floating fall away off glass against Colorado State at the buzzer. In total for his freshman season with the Terrapins, played 36 games, just over 30 minutes per game, put up 16 and a half points on 52% from the field, just 20% from three on very small volume, 77% from the line on a really nice 6 attempts per game, pulled down 9 boards, dished out 2 assists, had 2.2 stocks in 2.4 turnovers. He had a player efficiency rating of 24.7 and I believe was named Big Ten Freshman of the Year. Sage, this is maybe the most polarizing player, I think, of the draft. A lot of outlets have him within the lottery. Uh, Tankathon, for example, has him eighth on their big board, whereas if you look at the ringer, he's at nine. But I don't know if that number does it justice just because of how boom or bust DQ
Yeah.
really is. Like it wouldn't surprise me if in 3 or 4 years we're talking about one of the best all-star bigs, unicorn can do it all for his size, or he's out of the league just because defensively he cannot make it happen. He's not able to play off of the ball and he doesn't really get his body in shape. So if you're a team like Portland, hit kind of in no man's land, picking at 11, he might be a worthwhile swing because Sage, you could either hit a grand slam or you could strike out.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that was so interesting to me, so I was on Bartorvik, which is a really nice resource for draft stuff. And I wanted to look at who statistically comped out to Derik Queen. So I'm going to give you the list right here. So Derik Queen's closest comp is Blake Griffin. Jared Sullinger is his second. Anthony Bennett, another year of Jared Sullinger, Vernon Carey, Greg Monroe, PJ Washington, and Paulo. And when we're talking about Blake Griffin, he was one of the most amazing athletic specimens we've ever seen in the NBA. And his closest possible comp is a guy that I don't think has a 15-foot inch vertical, bro. It just shows what Derek Queen was able to do with the skill set that he does have with the rebounding, the touch, the feel, all of that stuff, and how he was able to utilize it into being like he's one of the most unathletic dudes in the league, but putting up amazing stats. Like with his handle, I see Paulo. I absolutely see a slower version of Paulo, like doing the hang dribbles, being able to utilize all of the handle and creativity that he can do. It's just like that offense, I think was I think NBA spacing would really help Derek Queen because a lot of his post ups ended in blocks because the guy was his teammate was in the paint as well, and he was getting help side blocked a lot. I think that NBA spacing makes up for a lot of what Derek Queen struggled with on the offensive end with getting his shot blocked with, you know, getting himself into trouble. But the way that he ran pick and roll with his guards, being able to get to the paint in like 2.5 steps, the footwork that Derik Queen has is unbelievably good. But the way he moves is not. But like the way that he was able to just cut down extra steps to make plays, like you're looking at somebody that can do all of this passing and all of this getting to the rim at such a weird body. Like I just like I wish Maryland gave him the ball more. Like his usage rate is fine, but I would think that for the best thing for Maryland would have been Derik Queen gets the ball 40% of the time and makes decision points because he when you said his stats, it was negative assist to turnover. Now I think there's sometimes he makes mistakes. Gets too locked in on one thing, but I don't think of him as a turnover artist, and I think the assists were really, really low for what Derik Queen is.
For exact point on that, I would recommend, and we can link in the description, Derek Parker. He does a really good heat check series. He did one on Derik Queen, and he manually hand tracked the turnovers, and some of them were wrongly attributed to Derek. He made the right pass that the guy just bumbled it out of bounds. A couple of them maybe offensive fouls, right? So like I'm not. I came away with the same conclusion as I'm not concerned about the negative assist to turnover ratio. There's context to everything.
And yeah, like Derik Queen plus another rim running center. Derek's not going to be a shooter to start. He just isn't. He can develop it. I think his touch is awesome, but when you have two bigs that are paint dependent and they're playing them on the court, it's going to create a bad spacing because of the you don't need to put two dudes down in the paint if one can block shots and the other can be more free safety up over the top of them. So I really think some of the issues with him was the spacing, especially when you're talking about assists. The one thing that really impressed me about Derik Queen, that man caught every pass going towards him. His hands are special, and obviously to do hang dribbles and dribble the way he does, his hands are special. But like we're talking about somebody with like elite hands to catch some of those dog shit passes that Maryland was throwing to him. I'm really impressed with his hands, and
He
I
has
think
already
that.
had experience playing with another big, right? A non-floor spacing big, and he still put up 16 and 9. So I think that can alleviate some concerns about fit. I know everyone's always saying he needs to play with a stretch big who can defend the rim. Sure, that would be ideal, but good players
How
figure it
many
out.
stretch bigs can defend the rim and hit threes at a high clip? There's like
Brooke
four.
Lopez and Miles Turner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not worried about that. So when you're talking about a player like Derik Queen, I think really every draft prospect who's not in the upper echelon, who's not in the 99th percentile, right? Every draft prospect is going to have question marks. I think at a certain point you need to flip the narrative on what they can't do to what they can do. And if what they can do is something special, are they worth the investment where you're picking? And that's kind of my outlook and how I view Derik Queen. I think he's a little too risky for me in the top five, but if you're a small market like Portland, you have trouble attracting free agents. You know, free agency is not necessarily what it used to be. This is your primary means of adding talent to your roster, and you probably have a good role player, I think, queue or a line of players that you can fill in, whether it's Jabari Walker, Chris Murray, Rand Rupert, Matisse Thybulle. You've got role players, right?
Mhm.
What you need is an influx in top flight talent. So you, at a certain point, have to start taking some swings. Sure, you're gonna miss, right? The Bucks hit with Giannis. They went to that well again, and they struck out with Thon
Thought
Maker.
maker.
But you
Yeah.
take those odds any day of the week because you got Giannis.
Mhm.
Like you're gonna miss. You're not gonna hit on every single prospect. The Thunder miss on prospects all the time, but we don't really remember that because when they hit, they hit.
Hmm.
For Portland, they need to take a swing. And so at 11, my appetite for Derik Queen is
Enormous.
pretty high. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I'm totally down with Derik Queen.
you start to look at what he can do. Um, Frankly, I don't give a shit if he can fit with Donovan Clingan. I don't. Donovan Clingan can play 24 minutes and you can play Queen 24 minutes, or you can start working on Klingan's 3-point shot and space the floor in that way. You can see if Queen can start to develop a 3-point shot. It's a bit of a
How do you
set.
feel about Derik Queen's shot?
It's gonna need some work. He
Do you
needs
think
a
it's like a
lot of
3 point?
airspace. He needs a lot of airspace to get it off. But at the same time, you're looking at a 20-year-old kid who is not a fully finished product. And I think some of the beauty in scouting is seeing what's there, but projecting to what it could be. Now, obviously, there's intangible factors such as drive and motor and work ethic, that is really hard to quantify and see really what's underneath, the
Mhm.
covers of a prospect. But seeing how he can progress, right? I don't think that should be his primary focus year one. I think year one and year two, you want to see how he can use his strengths to take defenses off guard, right? How can he use his handle to take maybe a shot blocking big out of the paint or to draw fouls? How can he use his incredible processing speed in the short roll?
And
How can he
that
get his
touch.
teammates? How can he get his teammates open, right? Um, how can he work on being just a serviceable defender, not a plus defender, not a minus? How can he stay on the floor? Like he needs to figure that out. Then once he starts to figure that out, then you can start to say, okay, how do we get you to shoot the three or just even longer two so you can keep the defense respectable? Like he's not going to be a finished product overnight. He's going to have to keep stacking things. I mean, we're seeing this even with Shaden Sharp, who just completed year three. He's just now figuring out how to finish at an elite level at the rim with top tier athleticism. Like the stuff,
And the handle, he's improved so much.
and so then he's going to need to stack that onto how do I get a tighter handle and how do I become a better 3-point shooter off of the dribble, right? These things take time. Um, and
I think
so,
we keep it really simple with Derek Queen to
yeah,
start. And but
I
like
think this,
I want to say I think his handle for a big man is elite. I think his vision as a big man, there might only be two dudes that compare to him with vision, processing speed, and passing. Like Jokic and then maybe Sengun, maybe Sabas. We're talking about something that's extremely rare. A 6'10 dude that can handle the ball, bring the ball up after a rebound. Like, dude, remember how we felt with Al-Farouq Aminu getting the rebound and dribbling it up? I have no fear with Derik Queen getting stripped. I think he might be better he might be a better dribbler than Tumani. He might be a better dribbler than rookie year Shaden Sharp already. Like his handle and the way that he can just generate so much force and so much length to the hoop. We're talking about something that's extremely rare. Like the way that he's able to make potential pros that he goes against look absolutely silly with his handle and his creativity and his vision. Like I think if Derek Queen hits, we're looking at like the misuse of Maryland would be criminal because he needed the ball in his hands more. Like we're looking at something so special with his vision and his passing and his handle.
one thing to keep in mind, he was an older freshman. So while 20 years is still young, I think it would kind of behoove us to kind of evaluate him as a sophomore, right? He's a sophomore in age. And so, not to take anything away from him, but he was a year older than some of his freshman counterparts. We've talked about his strengths, though, but there are some weaknesses,
Oh yeah.
specifically with his defense. And I would also say that more so than the defense, he does have a lackadaisical style of play,
If he's not,
especially
yeah.
on the defensive end where he just doesn't look like he's moving. That has to be removed at the NBA level because you can't take plays off. You're going to get thrown to the bench.
So one of the things that I think is gonna save his life is his amazing handle, with his amazing hands. Like I think that his hands are gonna make it so he's never going to be like awesome defensively, but I think it will make it so he creates enough defensive plays for him to stay on the floor. Like I know he got like a block and a steal a game, so he had the two stocks. I don't think that that is a fraudulent statistic. I think his hands are just so good that that might make him go from a complete net neutral defender to fine. Like if he can just move his feet, be able to just stay grounded and have people finish over him, kind of like what we need Donovan Clingan to do, where they just need to try and finish over a 6'10" dude with his hands raised. I'm fine with that. I don't ever see him doing like second side help defense, but if he can just be a net neutral defender, he's fine. And I think his hands are gonna be an amazing reason why he's able to stay on the court. Is because like I've seen him rip like first round pick guards on defense because of those hands.
Yeah, I think he's gonna need to take his conditioning and body seriously. I don't remember what video I watched. I've been watching a lot of Queen, but somebody reported that he came into Maryland at 260 from Montverde, and I think at the combine he was down to 247. So he is making progress there. But if he can really live in that weight room and not add mass, but get lean and trim so he's able to move quicker,
Mhm.
be faster, be more nimble. I
It's only
liken
good things if you get
it
skinnier.
I liken it to Kevin Duckworth. And you look when
Hmm.
Portland made that first run to the NBA Finals in 1990, he was bouncing around. He was big, but he was nimble. And then by the time 1992 came around, he just had a little bit more mass. He wasn't as effective. He wasn't able to just get to his spots as quick as he was, and wasn't as much of a problem for the opposing defenses. And then unfortunately, the weight issues kind of took over his NBA career. Rest in peace to Kev. He's one of my favorite Blazers of all time. um, but that's just kind of what looked when I saw Queen, and I was like, I think the body is the difference maker. If he gets that in check, gets trimmed and toned and more nimble, he's never going to be the most fleet of foot. But him being able to have that handle with a tighter, just frame,
Hmm.
and able to, have a little more force and mass when he's taking a shoulder into the chest of a defender, like he's going to be able to be even more on balance, even more, effective with his overall skill set at that stature.
And I mean, like Maryland doesn't have the athletic staff that a professional NBA team would do. I think that him getting on the right food regimen, getting on the right athletic regimen, getting faster, like I think that the pros are going to be able to do that at a better clip than him having to go to school, him having to do all the NIL bullshit, you know, studies, all that. Like if he can focus, like and I get that he has a weight issue, but if he can just get that focus up and the NBA team that drafts him can get him to buy into that, we're looking at somebody that could be a superstar.
Get him that he needs that DQ sponsorship, the hot eats, cool treats, hot handles, cool
Oh, bro, that would
connectivity.
be such a great NIL deal. Oh,
Bring back those
you need
Derik
a
Queen
job as a
glasses.
marketer for NIL stuff,
Bring
bro.
back those DQ glasses for DQ. I would say I'm in on him at 11, in on him because we need an influx in talent. If we were close and maybe need a more safer pick, I would go in another direction. But just because of where we're at and where we're trying to be, you have to take some risks. And so if he's there at 11, I would be all in
I
on
would be
him.
fucking praying that we would get Derek Queen if he's there at 11. I think that the value of Derek Queen at 11 is just too high. Like I know that we love Casperus. I know that we love Carter Bryant. I know that I love Thomas Sorber. But if Derek Queen is there at 11, he should be the guy. He needs to be the guy. I don't care about Klingon. I don't care about the fit. The what he can do, like, could you imagine him setting up Shaden Sharp off ball? Like him Shaden cutting and Derik Queen hitting him perfectly, or the pick and roll with Scoot and like him being able to find a Tumani, could find another shooter out there. Like I think that the benefits outweigh the my nerves with the defense. Do you have comps for Derik Queen? Because there really
No,
isn't that dude.
I know he's in the archetype of a Sabonis and a Şengün, but I don't like either comp because Şengün's just flat out bigger. He's just a big dude. And Sabonis is more nimble. Like he's leaner. He's quicker. Like he's a one of one, and I think that's why I'm intrigued because
It's
if
Zebo's body with amazing passing and dribbling.
Zebo could
Yeah,
Zebo
I
could
think
dribble in
Zebo might be the
traffic, but
best.
not in length to length. Yeah, he's like a 6'10 Zach Randolph with passing.
Yeah,
That's
fucking A, I would take that.
I mean, you look at a guy like, players who could take big players who had handle, Anthony Mason, Julius Randle, they had a good handle. Obviously Queen's taller, and I think he's more proficient
That's
offensively.
and
Um,
like Julius would kill to have Derek Queen's vision.
but also there's an outcome where he's, again, rest in peace. He's Caleb Swanigan,
Oh
where
yeah, yeah. I think there definitely is it, but I'm way more willing to take that risk on
yeah,
Derek because
he's a
of
few
the
inches taller than Caleb was, but there's a lot of similarities. Caleb had a better jumper. Caleb was also a fantastic passer. He was Big Ten Player of the Year. Um, he was, also a poor defender, but he was a little undersized. Like there's a world where he's out of the league and there's a world where he's an all-star. I don't see any in between.
no, I
And
don't either.
as a fan of a small market team, take the risk. It's
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah, Biggie and shit. Who was the other Purdue dude that I loved? He played with Edie.
Travion,
Travion. Like he could be Travion. He
who didn't
absolutely
even get
could.
in the league.
And I think that was a damn shame. Like the passing of Travion and Derek was fucking amazing. I also think like if Derek doesn't hit, he could be such a great 3-on-3 Olympic player. But like I'm willing to take the risk on him. Like Casper's doesn't touch what Derek can hit in the ceiling aspect of things. So
Well, those are my two. I like Casper a lot though.
I do too. I do too. But I think that when you're talking about ceiling, Cooper's bigger, Dylan's bigger. I don't see anybody with the ceiling of Derek's. And like, I watched Thomas Sorber, and I'm pretty convinced that Thomas Sorber has a safer floor, but when we're talking ceilings, Jesus Christ, Derek Queen is tempting. Like,
All right.
golly.
That
Yeah, he's
wraps up our discussion on Maryland big man Derik Queen. What do you think? Would you take the risk on him, Rip City, or do you like another prospect? If there's also another prospect you'd like us to discuss as we get closer to the draft, let us know and we will make sure to cover that player. But in the meantime, I think we have a couple of folks that we're going to discuss. We're also going to do an episode where we each pick two of our favorite post-lottery players who are projected to go outside the lottery if Portland were able to acquire a second pick, and that's who we would target. So be on the lookout for that. Sage, bring this one home.
yeah, and I'm working on a LeBaron Philon post, so be on the lookout for that. It'll at least be 9 minutes, so I'll put it on here. Um, he's also the guy I would talk about at Post Lotto guy, but we are available on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast. We should be there. And if they're not, let us know on IG, Holy Backboards. I believe it's the HB logo with the rainbow around it. But yeah, follow us on IG. Follow me on TikTok, to Sage Hoops. We we're gonna be posting. We will be posting until the draft is over. So you'll see a lot of us. I believe is either Cosperus or Coward. I got a LeBaron one. Definitely gonna be watching as much film as humanly possible. And thank you guys for rocking with us. We will be back soon. Peace.